Ooh boy, here we go. Today we're talking about Batman and Robin, directed by Joel Schumacher from 1997. It's labeled a fantasy adventure, starring George Clooney as Batman Bruce Wayne, Chris O'Donnell as Dick Grayson Robin, Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl slash Barbara Gordon, or actually in this, Barbara Wilson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who we last saw on Instagram in the very first franchise I covered, the Terminator franchise. He played Terminator Pops Carl, T-800, T-850, whatever you want to call him. He was the Terminator. Here, he is the not so intimidating Mr. Freeze. Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, and Robert Swenson as Bane, who is jacked. This dude is massive. The film has an 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, and with a budget of $125 million, the film only made $238.2 million at the box office. Now, I'm not too good at math, and in fact, I gotta get used to this new laptop, or computer, or whatever you want to call it. Let's see, where is a calculator so I can tell you how bad this movie did? There we go. Okay. So, as we have discussed before, the film, in order to be successful, has to make double its budget. So 125 million times 2 is 250 million, minus 238. 0.2 is what? 2,000? 2,230,000. Yeah. Comes out to about an $11,800,000 difference. Yeah. So, not good. In fact, it did pretty bad. Mr. Freeze, I would say, would have been enough in this movie because this movie suffers from too many villains. Also, don't mind the hair. It's got a mind of its own today, so we're going to keep it out of focus here. This movie definitely suffers from having too many villains, and I think Mr. Freeze by himself would have been great. You know, throw in Poison Ivy to fill in that Catwoman role from Batman Returns where she's kind of the love interest. That would have been fine. But they decided to go with Bane as well, filling the Venom role in the same vein as Spider-Man 3. In other words, here's our two villains. Here's a third one to just shoehorn in. Not to mention all the side plots, included, but not limited to, Bruce and Dick's constant bickering, Poison Ivy wanting to use plants to take over the world, Mr. Freeze's dead wife who has a secret cure, Dick falling for Poison Ivy, and finally, Alfred getting sick from the same disease as Mr. Freeze's wife died from. In other words, that cure that Mr. Freeze has hidden inside of his gauntlet can cure him. The acting's not very good, with George Clooney not being the best anything. And by that I mean Batman or Bruce Wayne. He's not good at all. Arnold feels like he's only here because the check was fat. I mean, that's literally the only reason I can come up with why that man would take this job. The bat suit is probably my least favorite, from the bat nipples, the bat credit card, to the strange silver trim it gets at the film's climax. It's just lame. The Batmobile was designed by Harold Belker, who also designed Robin's motorcycle and the other vehicles inside of this film, fitting that kind of strange, like, 1980s, but it's kind of the 1920s feel from the Tim Burton movies. Like, okay, here's these really old cars, well, not 1920s, 1940s. Here's all these really cool old vehicles, but here's all these modern day ones. It's very strange. There is no chemistry between the cast whatsoever. And no matter how much they try to be good, it just comes off bad. Chris O'Donnell is still pretty whiny, which is kind of annoying because I had high hopes that he would, be better in this movie. Obviously, I've seen this before. I know that he's not. But still, I had hopes that he would improve that from Batman Forever. Being that I've seen this multiple times and was one I would watch a lot along with Batman Forever as a child, I hold them in a special place in my heart. With that said, I would much rather watch anything else, including the entire 1960s Batman TV show, than watch this movie again. I really don't think that would offend anyone, but sorry if it does. The cheap CGI graphics used for this film boggle my mind and confuse me beyond belief, especially the ugly, giant, man-shaped buildings used for the Gotham Observatory, and the few that hold up the bridges in Gotham. It makes no sense. I mean, sure, at one point I used my little mini Freddy Krueger here to hold up my phone as a tripod when I had nothing else, but it worked. And no one else saw it. So why would you build giant people holding up? I don't know. Here's what I find strange. There is an attempt in the beginning of the movie, not so much the rest of it, to create some sort of shared universe. Batman says in the beginning, this is why Superman works alone. Why this is strange is because this is loosely in continuity with the Burton movies, which were somewhat around the same time as the Christopher Reeve Superman films, since the last film, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, came out in 1987, which was 2 years before the Keaton-Burton Batman film. The shared universe obviously was eventually lost and didn't come back until 2012 when we were introduced to Man of Steel, and then, we started laying the groundwork for the DCEU, which, kind of got off hard and came back strong, I would say, but that's just me and my opinion alone. I would have been interested in seeing some sort of shared universe back in like the 80s. But with that said, Christopher Reeves had to be pushing 70 at that point. He died in, I think it was 2004. I don't know. I forget now. Christopher Reeves. So I looked it up. I think it's just Reeve. Yeah, it's just Reeve. Let's see. He was only 52. Oh, that's... Never mind. I thought he was older than that. He must have died suddenly. Okay, but still. He was pushing 40, and, Michael Keaton wasn't that young, and George Clooney certainly was not that young when he took on the role of Batman, but I don't know. I'd be more interested if it was a Christopher Reeve, Michael Keaton, Batman, Superman mix-up. Not so much like a Tim Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, but it would still be interesting. It's kind of like how right now everyone wants Michael Keaton to return to play Bruce Wayne again, either in some sort of Batman Beyond movie, or they have him coming back in the Flashpoint Paradox movie they're gonna make. Possibly, don't hold me to that, but I'd like to see that. But I also would have been interested to see him play the role more. And obviously, once Tim Burton left, Michael Keaton didn't like the new direction Joel Schumacher was taking the films, which is all fine and dandy. You have your choice. With all of this said, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 10. I don't personally like this movie that much. I definitely used to like it, but I don't like it that much now. Saturday, we are looking at Saw 5. Same with all the other Saw movies. Haven't seen it, don't know really what to expect just yet. I'm hoping more Jill Tuck to kind of fix that error there. Until Saturday, I'm Luke, and I will see you guys later.
Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed what you just watched. If you're interested in more of my videos, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notifications every time I upload a video. And also, if you could, just leave a like down below and maybe even consider commenting, telling me things I did good, things I did bad.